From Inwood, New York City, welcome to Inwood Art Works On Air. It's where we meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home what we affectionately call upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and this is a special concert edition of Live and Local featuring the Double Entendre Music Ensemble performing live before damn Yankees at our Film Works Alfresco event as part of our pre-show entertainment, and we are so thrilled to have them here. The performance is from August 4th, 2025. Arrangements by Gilbert DeJean, and of course led by Catherine Engelhardt, who does wonderful trivia every time for us every summer. So thanks to Catherine, thanks to Gil, thanks to Double Entendre. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the Double Entendre Music Ensemble on Inwood Art Works On Air.
There's no space more beautiful than the Hudson, as we all know. That was Center Field by John Fogerty. And on oboes we have Michelle Farah and BJ Carpin, yay! And on English horns we have Keisuke Akuma and Sarah Duvall. And bassoons, Ako Sato and Yuki Higashi. And drums, Jeff Potter. And bass, Deb Sponheimer. So as you see here, New York City has its own oboe and bassoon band, complete with bass and drums. And I'm Catherine Engelhardt. We are Double Entendre Music Ensemble. If you've heard us at previous events, you know we love our trivia. How many people here follow baseball religiously? Okay, few of you. You're in luck because today you can win an Inwood Art Works baseball hat if you have the highest number of correct answers on our trivia. We have about 10 questions. So this is going to be on the honor system. You keep track of your answers and we'll tally together at the end of the trivia session. I trust you all, right? Yeah, this is kind of a test to see if it can work, but no matter what happens, we're all going to have fun. And if there's a tie, we have some tiebreaker questions. Okay, so let's get started. Here's the first trivia question. Not including today, Double Entendre has opened for how many baseball movies at Film Works Alfresco? Is it 0, 1, 2, or 3? The question is, and don't say it out to, just keep it in your head. I'll tell you the answer and then keep track of your right scores. How many baseball movies has Double Entendre opened for Film Works Alfresco? And the answer is 2. Field of Dreams in 2021 and A League of Their Own, 2019. How many people have 100% so far? Okay, we're on a good start. Question number 2. What team was purchased in 1903 by Frank Farrell and William Devery and moved to NYC to eventually become the New York Yankees? Was it the Boston Americans, Baltimore Orioles, Philadelphia Athletics, Detroit Tigers, or the Buffalo Bisons? And don't shout it out, just think about your answer. And I will tell you that it was the Baltimore Orioles. Yeah, that's right. That team was purchased in 1903 and became a New York City baseball team. So just to give you a sense of the atmosphere of the time, Frank Farrell was involved in gambling and owned some casinos. And William Devery was a retired New York City police superintendent. He was the very first New York City police chief in 1898, and he was once credited with making the following statement. He said, "They tell me there's a lot of grafting going on in this precinct. They tell me that you fellows are the fiercest ever on graft. Now that's going to stop. If there's any grafting to be done, I'll do it. Leave it to me." Okay, so how many people here don't follow baseball at all? Oh, okay. So how many of you are only here because you like Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse and Tab Hunter and that guy who was in My Favorite Martian? Okay, then. Yeah, Ray Walston, by the way, he won a Tony for Best Actor in a musical for playing Mr. Applegate in Damn Yankees. So for those of you who are afraid to raise your hands, and that would have included me before today, I'll tell you that the Yankees won the World Series 6 times just in the 1950s alone. So you can see how a book, a musical, and a movie were created about the Yankees. But of course, we know it's the Faust legend told within a baseball setting. So now we're going to play an arrangement of Goodbye, Old Girl, which is sung by Joe Boyd to his wife. In the movie, Robert Schaefer and Tab Hunter, who plays the young slugger Joe Hardy, both sing. So now, Goodbye, Old Girl. Did you know Yankees was not their first name? What was the initial name? This is question number 3 now. What was the initial name after their purchase in 1903? Was it the Highlanders, the Sluggers, the Bombers, or the Equestrians? So I will tell you that it was the Highlanders, possibly to recognize that they played their games at Hilltop Park, located at a high point in Manhattan between 165th and 168th and Broadway, right in Washington Heights. The Highlanders officially became the Yankees in 1913. Babe Ruth joined the Yankees in 1920, and they won their first World Series in 1923. The same year they moved to their new home in the Bronx. Does anyone here remember the Polo Grounds? Has anyone been there to the Polo Grounds? Well, it's where various baseball and football teams played their home games. The final version of the grounds was located in Coogan's Hollow in Washington Heights along the Harlem River, and the New York Yankees played there from 1913 to 1922. So let's talk about now the Mets for a moment. Any Mets fans? Yay, okay. The original Metropolitan Club, or the New York Metropolitans, existed from 1880 to 87. They played at the original Polo Grounds between 110th and 112th, just north of Central Park between 5th and 6th Avenues. And I know I don't need to tell this audience that after the Dodgers and the Giants unceremoniously left New York, the present-day Mets, or the New York Metropolitan Baseball Club, was founded in 1962 to take their place in the National League in New York City. So this year they're doing okay, I think. Did they win today, or are they still playing? Akko? Okay, well, I don't think we know yet. Okay. So the Mets played their first 2 seasons at the Polo Grounds in 62 and 63. And with that, we're going to have trivia question number 4. How many times have the Mets won the World Series? Is it 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? How many times has the Mets won the World Series? Keep that in your head. I'm sure you know the answer. And I'll tell you, it's 2, twice. In 69, they won against the Baltimore Orioles, and 86 against the Boston Red Sox. So, and now I don't think we could go another moment without giving tribute to Bruce Springsteen and Glory Days. In the movie, Joe Boyd is a huge fan of the Washington Senators, so let's talk about them. The first team to be called the Washington Senators, believe it or not, there was more than one. It was in the National League and existed from 1892 to 99. The second team to be called the Washington Senators was in the American League and existed from 1901 to 1960. So that's the team that this movie is about. So here's trivia question number 5. After the 1960 baseball season, the Washington Senators were sold and became what team? Was it the Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals, the Cleveland Guardians, Toronto Blue Jays, or the Minnesota Twins? It was the Minnesota Twins. So the Senators were sold. And then after they became the Minnesota Twins, another Senators team was formed in D.C., a third one, and that lasted for 10 years until 1971. And then they were sold yet again to Texas. They became the Texas Rangers, so the poor Senators. And the reason I bring this up is because it's the Senators that Joe Boyd loves in the movie. So just giving you a little background. Here's trivia question number 6. How many times have the Washington Senators won the World Series? 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? And and does anyone know? You're going to win a hat. So the answer is 1. In 1924, they defeated the New York Giants. But then as the Nationals, they also won the World Series in 2019, defeating the Houston Astros. So in their history, the Washington team, as either the Senators or the Nationals, has been in the World Series a total of 4 times against the Giants in 24, the Pittsburgh Pirates in 25, the Giants again in 1933, and then the Houston Astros in 2019. So this gives you plenty of background for our next song, which is called You Gotta Have Heart. Okay, so now we're going to do the last 4 trivia questions all at once. So here's question number 7. What was the original name of the New York Giants when they first formed in 1883? And we're not talking about football. We're talking about the early baseball team formed in New York City. Were they the Metropolitans, the Trojans, the Kings, the Gothams, or the Liberty? And the answer is they were the Gothams. Did you know that one? They were the Gothams? Yeah? Okay. You're definitely winning the hat. Okay. Okay. Trivia question number 8. What was the first nickname of the Brooklyn Baseball Association founded in 1883, which became the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1932? Was it the Trolleys, the Bridegrooms, Robins, or the Kings? You're right. It was. Yes, it was the Bridegrooms. And then later on, they became the Superbas and then the Robins, the turn of the century, then the Trolley Dodgers in the early 1900s. And then they were officially in 1932 named the Dodgers. Okay, here's trivia number 9. The Brooklyn Dodgers won their first World Series title in 1955, the year Damn Yankees, the musical, opened on Broadway. Who did they play? Was it the Chicago White Sox, Boston Red Sox, Baltimore Orioles, Washington Senators, New York Yankees, or New York Giants? And remember, for those of you who follow baseball, statistically speaking, what team won six World Series in the 1950s? It was the Yankees. Yes, exactly. So it was the Yankees. That's who the Brooklyn Dodgers actually played the Yankees and won that year in 1955. Now, number 10, this is the last question. What year did both the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers leave New York City, leaving the city with only one baseball team? Was it 1957, 1960, or 62? You're right. It was 57. Okay, and so there was only one team for a while, and now we're going to play our next song. We're going to play 6 months out of every year, which is from the movie and the musical. In the movie, Shannon Boleyn plays the character Meg Boyd, wife of Joe. She and her friends, including Jean Stapleton with weird hair, sing 6 months out of every year, and her husband chimes in too. going to do sort of a group tally of our trivia answers. And whoever thinks they got the most is going to win this hat, sported so beautifully and fashionably by all of our musicians. Yes. How many got 100% all 10 answers right? No? Okay, I'll just keep going down. And you know who you are. You kept track of your answers. 9 answers, 8 answers, 7, 6, 5 answers. I think this gentleman in the blue wins the hat. Yay! Would you like to come up? Darren won the prize. So I have some very nerdy tiebreakers, but now I'm just going to ask you the questions. And there's no multiple choice at all. I'm going to tell you the answers. We haven't talked at all about the various Subway series. So what year was the first Subway series in New York from after 1956? When was the first Subway series? Anyone? You, if you'd gotten here earlier, would have also won a hat, I think. You would have had to have this tiebreaker. Yes, you're right, it was 2000, Yankees and Mets. And the Yankees won 4-1. What year was the first and only game that featured the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Yankees? Anyone? We had 3 teams in New York City for a Subway series. It was 1944, the tri-cornered baseball game. And it was a World War II fundraiser. Okay, last question. What year did the Yankees become the first team to be in first place every day of the season? 1927. They had such a good year that every day of that season they were in first place. Okay. I do have one more very important question, and it is something we asked at our last baseball movie. What year was Cracker Jack invented? So I have 2 years for that. We're flexible. In 1872, there was a German immigrant selling molasses-flavored caramel-coated popcorn and peanuts from a cart. And then in 1893, it was first mass-produced and probably called Cracker Jack for the World's Fair in Chicago. All right. We have one more piece for you, one more selection. And I know all of you are Gwen Verdon fans. She plays Mr. Applegate's assistant. She and Bob Fosse perform a stunning duet in which they dance as part of a sort of a talent show in the movie. She's given an assignment in which she plays Lola, and she sings the song, "Whatever Lola Wants, Lola Gets." Now, I hope you've enjoyed everything. I think you'll really like this tune. If you'd like to tango, feel free to get up and dance. And here we go. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Michelle Farah, BJ Carpin oboes, Keisuke Akuma, Sarah Duvall English horns, Ako Sato, Yuki Higashi bassoons, Jeff Potter drums, Deb Sponheimer bass. Thank you, everyone.
Once again, let's give it up for Catherine Engelhardt and Double Entendre Music Ensemble.
Well, it's always a pleasure. It's like tradition now having Double Entendre perform for us at the Hudson. It's just a great opportunity to showcase the double reed band there. And it's the only time, basically, you're ever going to see a full double reed band in Manhattan, if not in New York City. They do a tremendous job, so please follow them and give them much love. So again, thanks to Catherine Gill and the whole gang at Double Entendre for a wonderful performance. And thanks to you for listening here and those who came out at the Hudson on Dyckman Street. We appreciate you all, and thanks for tuning in here. If you like what you heard, and how could you not, please rate and review this podcast 5 stars on whatever performance platform you're listening to. We greatly appreciate it on the podcasts. And last but not least, you can support On Air and all of our programming by making a tax-free donation to inwoodartworks.nyc/donate or via Venmo at Inwood Artworks. Thanks to the Hudson for the hosting us and to HeightSites.com for uptown promotional support. Be sure to follow us on social media at Inwood Artworks to keep up all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, Film Works Alfresco, live performances, and so much more. Inwood Art Works On Air is proud to be supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council. And Inwood Art Works programming is made possible by the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of the Office of the Governor and the New York State Legislature. From the top of Manhattan and the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims from Inwood Art Works On Air.